Hello, National Fix League, and welcome back once again to what will be today, the recap and preview podcast. Eric Zaleski, Austin Revito with you today. A lot to talk about here as we start, and we were calling this the playoff push edition. So a lot that we got to cover here. As I just said, we are going to recap Week 11 briefly. Get into the Week 12 preview, kind of get into some of the matchups, who needs to win, the whole playoff setting.
Yeah.
That whole situation.
The playoff panorama.
Additionally, we will cover. I was enjoying the music.
I was too, but it's like a 5.5 minute song, so.
We're gonna get into also. There's the whole trade debacle that's been going on. We're going to cover that. Also have a few side stories that we want to throw in as well. Maybe additionally look ahead to Week 12 in the NFL gambling.
Sure.
Take a look at some of the lines for this week. So we're going to have a little fun here with you this morning. Coming to you from a Friday morning, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Austin, how you doing?
Not bad. Better that I have this Christmas blend from Starbucks is actually not bad. I was wondering what to expect. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest, and it's turned out to be pretty good.
Now, what does that taste like? Because I'm not sure.
It is a little bitter. You would not like it, I'll tell you that.
I don't like much.
This kid drank an IPA once, and he told me that it was, quote, the worst thing he's ever tasted, that it tasted like urine and something else.
Well,
made you want to instantly vomit.
That was after drinking an entire bottle of champagne after the Scoregasms championship win, so I was legitimately drunk, and that was the worst thing I ever tasted. I wasn't tasting much anything that
night. That is true. But no, it's actually very good. A little bit of whole milk, some sugar. It's actually it's tasty. It's a nice festive holiday thing, and it's like ridiculous that Christmas is almost less than a month away.
It is.
That's insanity.
So once again, we're brought to you by Starbucks, the official beverage of the National Fix League.
And Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but I ate it all.
And you were pleasantly surprised about the taste of the Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's been a while for you.
I don't think I've had Cinnamon Toast Crunch since Luke McCall shit in a cup and put it in Mrs. Penderville's desk at St. Louis. That's how long it's been. I don't think I may not have eaten breakfast since then. Since my foiled scheme of stealing scat tickets for lunch at St. Louis, I probably haven't eaten Cinnamon Toast Crunch since 8th grade, and that was the most glorious breakfast I've had in, that's 15 years.
It's good. It's consistent.
It is, yeah. I mean, it holds its consistency very well against the milk. Every bite was crunchy. Billy was talking to me about Manny Sanguillen and the Roberto Clemente Hall of Fame. It's been a great morning so far until I think of like fantasy football and trades.
Well, and we're going to get into that in just a little bit. Let's go back. Let's go over some of these Week 11 matchups. And just to clue the league in on what happened on Monday night, we sat down after the Monday Night Football game in these exact seats. We were getting ready to film, and for some reason, you were just in one of the oddest moods of all time. I can't even put it into words what I sat here and try to work through for 2 minutes, because we started the podcast, we started the intro, I was doing my thing talking, and he's over here bouncing on the exercise ball. He was going off the walls. I don't know what got into him that night, and I eventually just cut the podcast off and said, let's do this another time. We've been trying over the course of the week to get this in. This was the only day that ended up working, so we do apologize for being a little bit behind, but at the same time, we're going to cover a little bit more in this podcast than we typically would in one of the Monday night / Tuesday recap videos.
Right, I think it actually ended up working out because we have a longer time. We're going to meet Brent here to play a little rebound in about an hour and a half or so. But, yeah, no, I don't know what. I think it was that buffalo chicken sandwich. It just does things to you. I think Marissa's onto something, not eating it, because she knew there's like a secret stim in there. Or maybe that guy just, like, from Vicelli hates delivering to us so much that he's, like, starting to, like, put stims in our stuff. So it's like, I don't know why I'm up all night, but I just ate a buffalo sandwich.
Something was wrong with you that evening. I literally couldn't sit here and do that. I couldn't. The thought of sitting here for, like, 40 minutes and doing a podcast with you that night, I just couldn't bear it. So I had to shut the thing down. But we're back.
I probably would have had some indigestion, too.
As always. So here's how this is going to work. if you like to tune in just to hear about your team and you are currently out of a playoff spot, you can shut this podcast down now because we're going to recap quickly week 11. If you are not in a playoff spot, you're more or less relevant at this point. This includes my team.
Irrelevant.
That's what I said.
I thought you said relevant.
No,
I was like,
irrelevant.
no, you're not
Irrelevant.
relevant.
So just a heads up there. And we'll start off with a very irrelevant matchup. Pump Up the Volume defeated Fade the Public 2.0. I buried the ball.
You did everything you had to do.
I had a trade in place that actually would have ended up winning me the week. We'll get into what happened there a little bit later. I lose to my dad. Kind of the fantasy season coming in full circle for me. Just team couldn't get the job done. Packers defense actually killed me with 26 points against the Eagles on that day. And which is, speaking of full circle, I'm the one that picked up the Packers D for him. Like, he doesn't understand fully add drop, so I got to pick up his players. I pick up the Packers D for him, and then it ends up biting me in the ass. So that's just fantastic. So Pump Up the Volume, Fade the Public 2.0, both at 4 and 7. My understanding at this point is any 4 and 7 teams are basically out of it. I think the only way, we were talking just a few minutes ago, was if a 4 and 7 team was to win 2 games, bump up to 6 and 7, maybe own a tiebreaker, and some of those teams that are, maybe 6 and 4 or 6 and 5 rather, lose a couple, then I guess technically they could jump. But for the sake of this, we're going to assume that these 4 and 7 teams are out of it. We can always adjust in next week's podcast if something were to change, but the future not looking too bright for the following teams: Fade the Public 2.0, Pump Up the Volume, and Jerry Slam Butsky, 4 and 7, and then of course Tesla Motors, 2 and 9. So everybody else though has at least 5 wins or more, so they are relevant in this. Jumping over to the Jerry Slam Butsky matchup, they played 3 Jackson short of the Jackson 5, a team that's been kind of coming on here, and
Coming on.
Jackson's won 78.4 to 66.5, bumps the Jacksons up to 6 and 5, so they're sitting nicely, looking to snag a playoff spot here as we have 2 weeks to go. For both of these teams, kind of refreshing to see some highly drafted wide receivers come alive who have been quiet this year, and I'm referencing AJ Green for Jerry Slam Butsky, and I'm referencing Brandon Marshall. 3 Jackson short of the Jackson 5, both of them coming off some big weeks in week 11. That stuff they've kind of been looking to see out of those players now for quite some time.
Yeah, they've been stinkers. They've both been pretty bad all year. We got Brandon Marshall. We thought we were winning in a trade. I forget, who did we... Oh, we sent, Ben Tate.
No, we sent Fred Jackson and Kelvin Benjamin.
And Kelvin Benjamin, we absolutely lost in that trade in another league, which is, for the last 5 years, if you told somebody that you were sending a rookie wide receiver and F Jacks to acquire Brandon Marshall, you'd have to be thinking the other person was delusional. Well, the joke's on us this year.
It is, and it has been on me all the way around, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. And for me, at least, and I've been saying this now to a few people when talking about fantasy football, through the first 2 years of my fantasy football career, and this is my third, I've had so much luck involved. I've won 2 championships. I think I've mentioned that quite a few times in these podcasts.
You've let me know.
But
I'm aware.
But you have to get literally, just to win one, you have to have, there's so much luck involved. Like, I would probably say it's about 25% skill and 75% luck as far as keeping players healthy, getting performances out of the right guys at the right time. So many tight games coming down the stretch. So for me, I was due for an off year like this. So, and I'm okay with it. I'm at peace with it.
Well, I'm not playing devil's. I don't mean this to come off devil's advocate, but
Sure.
what would you consider the skill of fantasy football?
Well,
25%. That just seems like a lot of percent to me.
No, I think the drafting strategy plays a big role into it. How you go about the waiver wire trades throughout the course of the year, your ability to start certain players and sit, your start-sit. So I actually think I was actually considering going a little higher than 25%, but there is just so much luck involved. And we were talking to Billy this morning, and he's still beside himself that Adrian Peterson is out and not coming back. My dad still thinks that he's coming back.
Yeah,
Even,
he gave the ration. He's like, I might try to trade him. And I was like, he's up for something or putting him up. I don't know what that meant.
Yeah, and he knows, he's been told that Adrian Peterson is not coming back. He doesn't want to believe it. He told me this morning he still believes there's value having him on your bench, and even if he's not playing, and that he might put him up for a trade, despite me telling him multiple times that the trade deadline has already passed. But that just goes back into the whole thing, is there's so much luck involved. I mean, any other year you draft Adrian Peterson at number 4 in the draft, I mean, you're punching your ticket to the playoffs. But not the case this year, and that's just the way fantasy football goes. We all understand that.
Have any of the first-round draft picks been...
Yes.
Okay, so there's been 1, 2... I don't consider him because he stunk.
Oh, he was hurt.
Sort of. Yes. No. Yes. Yes. In a weird way, yes. Kind of.
And I'm not sure that...
Yeah, like, there's been 3 out of 12 picks. And let's say 4. Rodgers, but that's still early. But there's been 1, 2... 3, 4 who have at least played to their potential. That's pathetic. That's actually pathetic. There's more in them. And then in the second round, you look at here and and no, yeah, no, absolutely no, yes, no, sort of, yes. So it's like these first 2 rounds like sucked.
Yeah. And usually the first 2 rounds are reserved for more or less sure things, barring injuries. And some of these guys haven't been injured. They just underperformed this year. So one of those things. But let's keep the recap rolling here. Jump down. We have Team Tone and Ladies and Edelman. This was one we followed closely on Monday night. It came down to the wire.
This was a big one. There was a couple of scenarios.
Right.
Scenarios.
And, to my memory, it was Team Tone had Roethlisberger. Ladies and Edelman had Sankey. Sankey actually outscored Roethlisberger, I think, in the game.
No, they tied. 10.5 to 10.5.
Okay. Well, yeah, because that's right. Ben came back in the fourth quarter, but for a while it was looking like Ladies and Edelman might pull off the unthinkable as he was hanging on by a thread with Sankey outscoring Roethlisberger. But this was a game that had a lot of implications. And now that it's gone final and Team Tone got the victory, both are now at 5 and 6.
Yeah.
And we'll take a look at it here shortly, but I believe if you're 5 and 6, you're on the outside looking in.
Correct. Well, there's one
there's
5
probably
and...
one team.
Oh no! I don't know. Yeah, there's 1 5 and 6
So,
team
and it is
will
Ladies
likely
and
get
Edelman.
in. Yeah, like that's currently 5 and 6 will likely get in. Yeah.
So I mean, a huge win there for Team Tone. I think. I know that we were kind of pulling for the upset there and seeing if Sankey could hold off Roethlisberger.
It was just kind of fun because it was like Bishop Sankey, this guy who's done nothing all year. I know McLaughlin draft in the 7th? That guy's been like the prostitute of the league. He just gets getting picked up and dropped every week. But
yeah, and he actually had a nice week.
He did. He got into the end zone. But quick note on McLaughlin's matchup. I liked his strategy sitting his defense. If he would have played the Eagles defense, they got -5 points. It wouldn't have lost him the week, but if it was any much closer, it actually would have. Like that would have. Imagine losing a week because your defense puts up negative points when you already have the week in the bag. That would be brutal. Benching the D.
And you mentioned that a quick note on McLaughlin and Barlick's team. I dropped that Eagles D, and inevitably picked up the Jets D. 2 weeks ago and didn't start a defense that week. We all recall that. They dropped DeAndre Hopkins for the Eagles D, and I thought that was kind of a questionable move. And that was a popular target on the waiver wire, literally the following day. I think Fawcett ended up getting him.
Which one is he? The guy for the Browns?
No, DeAndre Hopkins is the wide receiver for the Texans, who's been outperforming, I believe, outperforming Andre Johnson this year.
Yeah, I don't think he has a touchdown. Fuck.
Well, and he spilled coffee all over the computer, so we're going to have a little intermission break here.
Now everyone's going to watch the intermission break. Cunt.
So there you have it. Revito never seems to disappoint in this podcast. There's always something going on. Spilled that nice holiday blend all over the computer. Gave it a little drink.
He didn't want to give it a fucking drink.
He's a little on edge about it.
Well, I mean, this MacBook costs like more than my life. And it is my life, let's be honest. Can't do much without it. Hopefully it didn't go into any of the keys. It's all over the screen. How did that happen? I was not even playing with it, was I? You can be honest. Was I like being?
I'm not sure. I mean, we'll have to go to the tape. To the tape we go.
I have to go to the tape. I don't know about going to the tape. Are we still on here?
We should be.
All right. Let's see if the keys work. This is such a bummer.
That's fine.
All right, everything looks to be good to go. It just smells like Christmas roast. Let's.
Which isn't bad, actually.
No, I mean, it's not a bad smell. At least I didn't spill like my hockey equipment on it, reminding me I need to go put that in the dryer here shortly. All right, sorry for the intermission, everybody. That was an unforeseen. We got to click back into the thing here. All right, I'll be right back.
All right.
Can't make it through one of these. Actually, we'll put this in the wash. Can't make it through one of these without some sort of mishap.
All right, so we got to start picking up the pace a little bit here. The next matchup from Week 11, we're going to recap. Team Cologne victorious over It's Only Smells.
Smells.
Team Cologne has been dominant this season. He's now got 100. Well, he had 111.4 to 81 in Week 11. Le'Veon Bell with 28.2, a monstrous game. Did he have? He almost had 200 yards.
No, I think they gave him a sack correction that they gave him 200 yards. It was there. I read Pompiani, who we all despise, more so the daughter, but he actually tweeted that there was a stat correction that he must have caught like a pass behind the line of scrimmage that was actually a lateral instead of a pass, so he got more yards, and he ended up with more than 200 yards, which is insane.
Yeah, heck of a game.
Good for him.
He's been maybe the value pick of the draft. And that actually reminds me, and I saw about half of you voted. We have currently up on the league homepage, on the right side of the page, we have the worst draft pick. I basically went through and picked one from each team. And I think I did a relatively good job as I just went through the draft recap real quick. I felt like there were a couple teams that didn't deserve to be on that list, and I think I had a couple more picks that could have been on that list, but I figured it'd be fun to just pick out one of every team. And currently it's Monty Ball at 8th overall by Tesla Motors, who is in the lead, I believe with 4 votes. But I also want to do, after everybody votes on this one and we get a final consensus, I do want to do like best value pick of the draft.
Sure.
And
I don't have it, so yeah.
But I mean, Le'Veon Bell, despite being taken relatively early, I mean, he's a guy that's probably going to be in the top 5 next year, maybe even top 3 with the way he's been playing this year.
I think he's the number 1 overall pick next year. Tell me of somebody who's better. Charles can only go down.
Yeah, but I don't know.
DeMarco Murray's an injury risk.
Yeah, but I still think you probably take the thing about Charles and Murray is that they get in the end zone a lot more.
Now the nice thing is they cut Blunt.
Yeah.
So he will. Yeah.
And that apparently he was just a head case in the locker room.
Yeah, he's been like a nut since
bananas.
college. Although he got signed to a 2-year contract.
I think the Patriots picked him up again. So
good for them.
Interesting there. Team Cologne, though, team to be reckoned with coming down the stretch here, looking very good. Now 9-2. Smells drops down to 6-5, but that was a team that's been streaking. Don't count them out either, as they're still sitting in a playoff spot.
Yes, I got them this week. So
big week.
Big week for Smells.
And now we'll drop down to another grudge match in week 11. It was down with the cause, Money Manziels. I believe the Manziels came in at 8-2. The cause was 7-3, if my math is correct, and the cause cleaned up the Money Manziels.
Yeah.
113 to 79.5.
This could be a semifinal match preview.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think in some way, shape, or form, these two will probably meet at some point in the playoffs.
Kind of fun to talk about, like the playoffs.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's going to be intense. But I went over the MGM Vegas odds a couple podcasts ago.
True.
And they're pretty similar still, at least for the top end. I think down with the cause is got to be the odds-on favorite still to win.
What, 2-1?
I don't think there's any question about
3-2? What do you put
I had them at 1-1.
Oh, 1-1?
And we actually did get some action in. The Money Manziels put $20 on themselves. I have to go back and watch the video to see what odds I gave him. I will be on the record, though, And I'm not sure everybody is with me on this or not, but I'm just looking unbiasedly at the teams. And I'm going to talk about two great gentlemen here, two guys that I value as friends. But if I'm taking a team outside of Down with the Cause to win, I'm taking Team Cologne. I like Cologne's team a little bit better than Manziel's team.
The running backs because of
Running backs are stronger, and you're also with the Manziel's. He said he has Cutler,
the Cutlet
as the starting QB. I'm not sure it's going to be enough, but he has the weapons. You never know. I'm just saying if I were a betting man, I'm probably going Down with the Cause 1, Team Cologne 2, and then the Manziel's 3. But he always will have the opportunity to prove me wrong. I'm really in no position to be.
You're a running back guy. You love the RBs.
I am a running back guy, yeah.
Yeah.
So I might be a little subconsciously biased there. Except, Marshawn Lynch has been a beast for the Manziels this year, and that's a guy I wish I had and a guy that I could have had.
Frank Gore, the ageless wonder. It's unbelievable. We all thought Carlos Hyde would be playing now, and that guy can't even see the field. Ooh.
So it was a nice matchup there. Down with the Cause, kind of
asserted his domination.
Exactly what I was looking to say, and I couldn't find the words. That's it, though.
He asserted some power.
So
there.
both teams now at 8-3. So Cologne will be alone at the top now at the 9-2 record. And now jumping to the final matchup, which was really unfortunate for you. It was a big game for you. And I don't think anybody saw this coming, but Tesla Motors out of
I saw
field.
it coming. No, it came from the pitcher's mound. It wasn't in left field. It came from dead straight up. I mean, he was bound to have a good week sooner or later. He had about the shittiest roster that you could trot out there. He gets a 0 out of Monty Ball in the early games, and it was just set up perfectly. It was a perfect fade the public in Vegas bet. Like, the world was like, oh, Tesla Motors can't possibly win this game. I literally was hoping that ass over here would give me odds. And I'd be like, literally, put my entire fantasy budget thing or entry fee on Tesla Motors. I would have, that was it. It wasn't even, it was not even an option. This lineup of Dalton, Vereen, Blue, Evans, Watkins, 2 rookie wide receivers, Ertz, Ball, who didn't even play, 49ers D, and Santos scores 108 points. I mean, it was just going to happen.
He was certainly due for a week like this, and unfortunately, it has to happen to you, a team that's right on the bubble playoff spot there. But the final score in this one, 108.2 to 70.9. Mikey Evans for Tesla Motors with 32.9.
Fuck him.
Wow. There's a guy that's completely outperformed Vincent Jackson. We thought he was going to kind of help Vincent Jackson's fantasy value by kind of taking the defender, taking some of the attention away. But he's actually probably hurt Vinny Jackson more than he's helped him.
No, yeah. He's like the number one. He plays for Tampa Bay. Have fun sucking your own self off for a while. I don't really care.
So you're down to 5-6 now. Tesla Motors at 2-9, and an interesting development in that game. Tesla Motors needed that win, and he's actually not
officially. Yeah.
He doesn't. It's not set in stone. He needs to buy the trophy yet, because now we have a bunch of 4-7 teams. He's 2-9. If he can roll off a couple of wins, and one of the 4-7 teams loses their final 2, he would get out of that last place spot, because his points for John's points for are not that bad. I'm actually a little bit worried that I might end up in dead last the way things have been going for me, but we'll have to see how that plays out. You want to run up at this point and change your laundry.
Yeah.
And while you do that, I'm going to get us, before we jump into the Week 12 preview here, let's get into a little bit Let's get into a little bit of the trade talk and what's been going on. Obviously, as we all know, the trade deadline has just concluded this past Thursday. A lot of deals out on the table, a lot of deals shut down. And it leaves me as commissioner kind of wondering what's the best way to go about handling this stuff, because it appears there was a little bit of collusion involved, and I wasn't going to let those trades go through. There was a couple trades out there that I thought were actually okay, but they got vetoed as well. I think part of it is you have playoff teams that feel threatened that other playoff teams are getting stronger, and therefore you just vote against it. Um, I think, as you guys know, there's a policy in place where if 5 of the 10 teams that aren't involved in the trade vote veto, then the trade itself is vetoed. So we saw, I think every trade that came through got vetoed. I also wanted to address my trade and it was a scenario that happened last week. Ravito and I made a trade. It was Phillip Rivers, the Chargers D, and Matt Asiata for Aaron Rodgers and Brandon Cooks, a deal that one league member in particular felt was lopsided. And we won't name names on here, but reached out to me, and he said that for whatever reason he thought there might be collusion involved, with me getting the better end, despite the fact that the other end had the much better chance of making a playoff spot. So there were a few questions from other league members in regards to why they got reversed. Some confusion going on. I wasn't happy about it. The trade not going through basically squashed my season. If I would have had Rodgers last week, I would have won, still been in the playoff hunt. But it is what it is. I said I'm just going to reverse the trade. The way my season's gone, I'm realistic about it. It really wouldn't have mattered, so I didn't want to make a big deal about it. But just so you guys know what happened there. So, Ravito, I know you have some strong feelings that you wanted to relay to the league in regards to the trades, in particular your trade this week. And let me read the details of that trade before you get going.
Your light doesn't work anymore.
No. The trade that was in place between you and the Money Manziels was you were acquiring Jay Cutler, Anquan Bolden, and C.J. Anderson for Aaron Rodgers. 6 people voted. There were 5 vetoes. Out of the 6 votes, this was a trade that I felt was okay. I think the knee-jerk reaction for a lot of people are they see the 8-3 team getting Aaron Rodgers, and that whether that's a playoff team or whatever the case is, feels that's maybe a threat to them. However, I don't think, and you've said this to me, I don't think people realize that you are still in the playoff hunt. A couple of wins, and I think you're in if you win out.
With the worst team in the league.
And he was going to give you some pieces here that would have helped you kind of all around.
Right.
But wanted to get your thoughts on the league vetoing it.
I don't know. No, I mean, see, this is so, I don't know, we've discussed this at, nauseum now. It's actually become, annoying. This is actually, takes the fun away from this fucking thing. And, I don't know. We let that trade go through earlier in the year. We get, the namaste of all namaste from John saying, okay, if a trade's made in fantasy football, you just let it go through unless it looks like severe collusion. Well, so that big trade earlier in the year was the Jimmy Graham for Doug Martin thing.
Jimmy Graham and for Doug Martin and Delaney
Walker. Whatever the hell. Delaney Walker's been hurt. Doug Martin has as many points as I do in fantasy football, I think, this year. I think I could strap on the pads and fall into the end zone at some point. But granted, that's not collusion though. That's
right. Well, let me explain my point.
That's
the
problem.
Was at the beginning of the year. That was kind of my thing. I was getting phone calls. I was getting texts when that trade was going on, and I reached out to John as kind of a voice of reason, saying, "What do you think I should do here?" I felt that if I let the trade continue to be voted on, that it was going to get vetoed. And he told me kind of a rule of thumb is if you don't believe that there's collusion involved, you should let the trade go through. If 2 people agree on a deal and they really believe that that's something they want to do and that's something that can make their teams better, you let it go through as league manager. So at the time, I just said, okay. And we had people threaten to quit the league. We all know the story. I was just kind of it's not worth, vetoing. We felt that it was a lopsided trade, and we felt that the person getting the worst end of that deal would have to suffer the consequences. And
you have.
Sure enough, yeah, now you're on the bubble as opposed to being in the playoffs, probably because of it.
But the thing is,
not to dawn too much on that trade. That was just kind of where my mindset for the rest of the year was kind of set, where if there's not collusion involved, the trade's going to go through. And so when me and you made that trade last week, and there was clearly no collusion involved, it would have been collusion had I given you like a top end player. Maybe the deal fell a little bit lopsided in your favor.
I just need players at this point.
Right, and that's what
Like,
people
that's-
understand. These are must win games for teams on the bubble. So they're this is kind of a desperation thing, trying to
Right.
get things going. In your trade in particular, I felt that you were going to start all three of these players that you were going to get, correct?
Yeah. I mean, C.J. Anderson last week had more points than both my running backs. Who did I had to start Jerick McKinnon, who had 4 points. I had to start Trey Mason, had a good week. But then, like, I would have had every single one of those players would have been in my lineup. So, like, that's the thing. Like, I don't. Yeah. Well, see, then that's like, it's like, oh, well, you're getting Cutler for Rodgers. It's like, I'd sacrifice 5 points, 6 points in my quarterback spot to get more points elsewhere. So, like my season was this week. So, the fact that our initial trade was going to have, I think, Vernon Davis included as a tight end. Like, I mean, like, I needed that. I got 0.8 of a point last night for my tight end from Oakland. Thank you, Rivera, for squeezing 1 catch. So, like, that's... Like, this Rod trade, getting rid of Peyton Manning for Charles Clay, Hawkins, Cameron, Miller, Roethlisberger.
No. The trade here is Manning. Rod was trading Manning to Birdie for Roethlisberger, Clay, and Hawkins. Kind of a similar deal to what you had going on above, but the return here is clearly not as strong. And the issue, well,
who's Clay? I'm sorry, I don't know who Clay.
He's a tight end from Miami.
Okay.
Here's the problem with that trade is you have Rod, who's basically out of a playoff spot. He's with me at 4-7. I told myself, and I had some trade offers come in this week. I said, I can't trade. I'm 4-7. I'm out of the playoffs. It's basically collusion if I make a deal at this point. We can't have a 4-7 team trading Peyton Manning to what is Birdie 5-6?
I think he's in my
5-6. And right on the cusp of a playoff spot.
I have not voted on any of these trades, by the way, so I think you can look at that. Can you look at that?
No, I can't see who voted, and I haven't voted either. I typically try to stay out of it and let the league give their opinion. But in that situation, I wasn't, and I didn't even look at the trade until it got vetoed. But you can't have a team that's basically out of the playoffs trading Peyton Manning to a team that's in the playoffs for a bunch of garbage. But this was a little bit of a different situation between you and Robbie. Nonetheless, we've been talking about how do you handle this moving forward? How do we handle this next year? I've had a couple people telling me it's either you let all the trades go through, and I know you kind of believe this.
Yeah.
All the trades go through, or we don't do trades at all. But trades are kind of what make fantasy football fun, at least for me. Like I love.
You might be in the minority there. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, and that's something that we can vote on next year at the draft, whether it's something we want to do. My proposal, as I just kind of, I've been trying to think through what we could do to make this more fair, because in the situation of your trade, like we've already said, you could have the 5 teams that are in the playoffs all veto it just so Robbie Wright doesn't acquire Aaron Rodgers and make his team stronger, thus become a threat to them.
Which is so fucking bitch.
Well, not that we know that was the case. I assume that a couple of those teams inevitably have to do that.
Right. I mean, the writing's on the wall.
But,
I mean, like, it's not like, I'm pretty sure your dad didn't hop on and say, well, that doesn't look fair.
That's true. But let me say this, and this is a point that I brought up to you. I think that maybe next year the way to go about it is instead of having 5 out of 10 vetoes to kind of nullify the trade, that we do 7 vetoes. So 7 out of 10 teams involved would have to veto the trade for it to be no good. So this would eliminate just simply the playoff teams getting involved. I mean, you would, and I would be sending out text saying you guys have to vote. Everybody's got to get a vote on the trade before it goes through.
The 2 teams in the trade are not allowed to vote. I think that has to be
correct. But
because, like, I mean, I didn't even vote on my own trades, but like if the same thing though, so like you're already getting 2 for the yes side.
Yeah,
I think you have to take, because if everyone's gonna
but that doesn't matter.
Cunt and moan about everything, like, oh, we don't want the playoff teams to get better. Well, like, unfortunately, that's just the nature of sport. Like, you guys root for the Penguins to get better at the trade deadline. That means, the Sabres are going to get worse. That's just, like, it's not worse. You're just picking up more pieces and hoping. See, like, literally my season hinges on a Sunday. This coming Sunday. Like, this whole year comes down to 8 hours. So, like, well, less than 8 hours because the Chiefs, Oakland played yesterday. So, like, that's the thing. Like, I had to win this week. I don't care about next week. Like, that's... I don't know. Like, you're just trying to survive, and it's like the NCAA tournament. You just try to win, and then you worry about 2 days later. Right.
Yeah. So, and people are all in different positions, and I'm not sure that's considered by people that are voting on the trade. I think they just maybe look at it and say, well, Ravito's team sucks.
Right.
And Robbie's team's been good. Now he's getting Rogers. Maybe there's something going on there. But I didn't see that as the case by any means, especially with you still having an opportunity to make it. But to your point of the two people who make the trade aren't allowed to vote, it doesn't really matter because they're not going to veto it. But that's still back to the point where 7 out of 10 people need to veto.
Right.
the end
Yes.
of the day.
70%. That's a passing grade.
So
Yeah.
that could involve in your situation teams that are in the playoffs and teams that aren't in the playoffs. If people really feel that it's unfair, where they can get 7 people to say
Negative.
no trade,
Right.
then I feel that's then warranted. So something to consider moving forward. Like I said, we'll talk about it in next draft because it needs to kind of be cleared up. All these trades, and I know another trade between Birdie and Rod got shut down here. I'm not even going to go through all this because there's so much involved. Another attempt here. I think this might have been a joke, actually. Peyton Manning in a trade that had Doug Martin coming back in return. I can't.
I think Doug Martin's supposed to play this week.
Yeah, but I can't believe that they were serious about that.
Oh no, that's why like Robbie, I'm gonna send him the most asinine trade. Just to make people get like the email. See,
Yeah.
I don't check my email.
Well, the
so,
classic
like-
thing, and the classic thing about this trade was, and I was telling you this, the trade came through on my email, and I saw it was between these two teams, and it's just one of those things where I usually just check all my emails at once. I'm just scrolling through, just kind of clicking through, okay, and it was maybe 15 minutes later, I got another email saying this trade has been vetoed. Votes are 5-0, so it didn't last very long.
See, it's funny how much everyone starts to care now in this playoff because this is what I was telling you in the car, and I think this is kind of what makes sense of it all. Like, and this is kind of directed at like the people who got all pissy or vetoed my most recent trade with Robbie, where I was trying to collect pieces and he was getting an elite player out of it all. If that Doug Martin Jimmy Graham trade went down this week, people would snap. Now, granted, Doug Martin's hurt, so I put this in a different perspective. Another running back who's like on the uptick, like a comparable running back. I don't know. Like I can't even put Sankey because no one would do that. But like maybe it's Sankey. I'm trying to think of who else. Like I don't even know running backs at this point. Like I can't. My head like hurts with running backs. But like
I think Sankey's reasonable.
Yeah. So like Sankey for Graham, like John. Like everyone would fly off the handle. But back then, John's rationale was, oh well, you let it go through. So like there's there's a bit of a hypocritical aspect to like the time of the season. The time of the season can't matter. So that means the closer you get to the trade deadline, the more pressing it gets to make a trade. You can't make the stipulations. You can't make this. You can't increase the severity of people moving players because it's closer to the deadline. That's just the deadline.
Yeah, and I agree with you as long as you're not talking about teams that are basically out of.
If you're out of the playoffs, don't frickin' trade.
Yeah,
like
that's a rule that I think I've made clear coming into it. It's a tough situation because I think like technically Rod in a pipe dream could still make the playoffs.
Yeah. See, like I'm not saying that, but that kind of that didn't look good. But at the same time, if Rod was 5-6, he would be, and Tone was 5-6.
Yeah.
And you guys want to do that? I mean, who the hell?
Yeah.
I mean,
and that would have been a different story.
Sure, I guess.
But I mean, also, if you're a 5-6 team, I don't think
you're probably not trading Peyton Manning. But yeah.
But you never know.
I mean, I would trading Aaron Rodgers at 5-6, but I'm getting stuff back. And if Rod and Birdie got stuff back out of it that they liked, I mean, that's fine. Now, granted, was I like vehemently against the Jimmy Graham Doug Martin trade? Yeah, and it looks like I was correct considering Doug Martin's antics this year have been. I mean, like they're starting a second-string West Virginia rookie running back in Tampa Bay right now. Shows you how much they care about Doug Martin when he's healthy. So, like, I mean, whatever. But it's just odd. I don't know. The trade's shit. Like, I'm all for all of them get through or none of them get through. And I'm also with Cologne in the locker room said no trades. If it's going to come down to this shit, then I'd just rather have no trades.
Yeah.
I could care less. If you get your dad or your uncle's in that Vegas league that has what was the buy-in?
A lot of money. I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean a good amount of money, and you're not even allowed to trade. That guy drafted 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to trade.
You're not allowed to trade. So like, what's the difference?
Well, that's something I want everybody definitely to think about. You can always reach out to me with your comments, questions, and concerns. As Ravito spills his coffee again.
There's nothing.
There wasn't anything in it. But ultimately, we just want to get it right. That's really what this is about.
Yeah. See, it's losing the fun aspect now.
Right, but that's the thing is for me, fantasy football, the trades are I think it's really fun part of fantasy football, and we also have to keep in mind that this is just supposed to be fun at the end of the day. Like it gets to the point where it gets like serious, and I understand that there's money on the line, but
Right.
it's meant to be fun.
When you
So
take a
let's not-
step back and you just like look at it for what it is, it's
Yeah.
it's a joke. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is a fantasy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like I'm vicariously living through freaking Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Like literally, like how his Sunday determines how I feel till like Tuesday. That's pathetic. That's
Right.
actually sad.
Yeah, I mean it is. A
That's
little
like
bit sad.
clinically sad. But hey, good to all
yeah,
of us. I guess.
I mean, my
Yeah.
point here is, nothing. Any of this needs to be personal. This is, at the end of the day, it's just it's a fun fantasy game. But
It's not personal. It's all business.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the case. I mean, like whenever that trade got reversed between me and you, there was a heated discussion between the person that did it, and I didn't mention any names on here. Didn't get carried away, but I just reasonably wanted to understand their train of thought there.
Well, I mean, if you can't hear out somebody's point of view, then you're not you're I
Right.
don't know. You're
So-
you're a fucking pussy.
But something to keep in mind for the future, and we'll go over that before next draft. But let's jump into the Week 12 matchups now.
The big preview. Hopefully, you're listening to this like driving somewhere. Like if you've been sitting in front of your computer for 41
Yeah,
minutes,
I always
sorry,
suggest that, and
but-
I'll go back and listen to this once through at some point, just to kind of because we just talk off the top of our heads, and then I'm kind of curious to see how it turned out. So usually when I'm in the car, I'll plug it in, listen, and just as I'm driving to hockey practice or driving out to the girlfriends or whatever the case may
Right.
be, and it's kind of nice because at least we don't have to sit there and listen to fucking
and I think
caffeine-addled Starkey.
Right. Well, he's always anxious, but I think we're getting. Like we said, we had our best podcast. We think was our most recent hockey podcast. Where somehow we think we're getting a little bit better. Like you. That first one, if you watched it back, it probably is horrendous. And we sound like a band who's like, our first album sucked. Like, I can't believe we put that out. The first one had to be terrible. We're like shooting the gun initially. We had no idea what we were doing.
Well, the first
time we're throwing a cap with gum stuck to the top of it. Like, I mean,
we've come a long way.
we have,
But-
sort of. It's going to be an emotional finale. Although we have hockey to take us till like April, so that's
Yeah.
good. But this has been fun. So now we're doing a little bit of a preview. We'll segue into the preview
Yeah, so let's do it.
predictive part of this.
First matchup, Jerry Slambuski versus Fade the Public 2.0. I'm not spending any time on this. 2, 4, and 7 teams. And obviously, anybody that loses here is officially out. If you get a win, you have like a 2% chance of making it. Rod only got 3.4 out of DMC last night, so a nice start for me. It says I'm favored by 23.4, but it said that all year, and I've won 4 games.
Right.
Next game, Pump Up the Volume versus Ladies and Edelman. Edelman still fighting for a playoff spot here. He's favored by 15.7. Needs that game. Would be huge for him, but Pump Up the Volume coming off a victory. Once again, at 4 and 7, this season's officially on the line.
Yeah, but I actually went through and realized what I needed to. And every time I click into Pump Up the Volume, I love seeing the Pump Up Baby or the Buckle Up Baby.
At his request, he wanted that.
That is glorious. The problem is, you look at this lineup and it is brutal.
Whose lineup?
Your dad's.
Well,
he could be out if Arian Foster's out.
His season rise when
Right.
Arian
But
Foster
like
plays.
Sprolzy, he has no other RBs.
I mean, he's got Sproles and Ivory and Stewart, but Stewart's on a bye.
Peterson is a rapist or a beatist.
I mean, but we've talked about it before. If he had Peterson and Foster going,
Look out.
he would have had a heck of a year. Unfortunately, it didn't play out for him. But I don't want to spend any more time. We've already said that we're not going to do that. So let's jump to now a very important matchup this week. Let's see. So we'll do
Edelman's
Team
got a
Cologne.
lot of Q's in his lineup.
Team Cologne and 3 Jackson short of the Jackson 5. Cologne's 9 and 2. He's trying to keep that top spot in the league. I believe the top 2 teams get a bye in the first round of the playoffs, which is huge. And go ahead.
Oh my gosh! So this is probably the matchup. You're on the matchups. This is probably the matchup of the week. Like the 2 best teams going at each other this week. Yeah,
probably the best.
This is where College Game Day would be if they did their little show. But and the first blunder of the week was Jackson short of the Jackson 5 going on the waiver wire, spending money on Latavius Murray, outbidding me, and then not starting him.
And what did he do?
He put up 23.2 points on like 5 rushes, and then he got concussed. Which, I mean, that wins you a week. You don't give a shit about the concussion. You drop him today. But they're gonna start this Denard Robinson.
And he's been awesome.
He's been awesome,
weeks.
but like 18, 11, 16, 17. Tell me you don't see like a 1.2 coming up.
He's coming off a bye here.
He's coming off a bye.
Well, he's definitely due for a down week, but you got to play the hot hand. He's been off for 4 straight. He's got a week of rest.
But then S-Jax.
Let's see. S-Jax hasn't been. He's hit or miss. That's what these numbers are saying to me.
He's hip or miss. Okay, never. That was. I'll show myself out. But
this game obviously more important though for the Jacksons, who are 6-5. A win basically puts them in.
A win, they're in. They're absolutely in with a win. Yeah.
And they're actually, according to the numbers here, and I'm not sure, does Fawcett have everybody in his lineup? Looks like he does. They have the Jacksons as a 28-point favorite. Not that means a whole lot, but a little surprised maybe to see that number.
Well, Jackson's Colangene does not have Lev Bell, who apparently hates being called Lev. This is like, shut the fuck up. You have an apostrophe in your name. We can call you whatever the hell we want, including and not limited to Silverback. So he has Olsen on a bye too, who's actually been really good. Olsen's been great, and so we're on student rush over here trying to get tickets for the game tonight. Penn Isle, but this lineup's not Rosh. Rosh is back. He's a walking soft tissue injury, but he had 22 touches. Holy cow! Last week, that's a lot of touches. Well, best of luck to Fawcett this week. I kind of need a win out of him. So,
all right.
Well, here we go. Yeah.
Next matchup here, we have Team Tone and the Money Manziels. Manziels playing to finish as a top 2 team and get that first round bye. We have Team Tone fighting for a playoff spot at 5-6. The projections have the Money Manziels as a 23-point favorite. Obviously, and kind of like the last game, this game's got to mean more to Team Tone, who sees his season basically on the line here. If you drop down to 5-7,
I think you're done. Well, not done, but you're on the outside, really on the outside looking in.
And but that should be a pretty competitive game as well. We always see these projections. It makes it seem like the game will never be close, but it always comes down to like Sunday night or Monday night.
It's weird, yeah. It's either after the 1 o'clock games, you either know that you've won or lost, or you're waiting till that like defense goes on Monday night. Right. You know, you're within 5 points. It's funny how fantasy football works, but it's never like that comfortable. I have a 20-point lead all day. It's either like I'm up 50 or we're within 5, and you're watching every play, every tenth of a yard is worth worth your attention. But so it looks like the Manziels this week have slotted C.J. Anderson into the lineup, who I would have loved to have had, and have put Frank Gore on the bench. So that's an interesting move. I do like him, though, coming back off of that loss to the Rams. Manning's pissed.
Yeah, and they're going to be ready to go.
If you have Peyton Manning this week, I think it was Rod, right?
Yeah, well, now he still does.
He still does? Oh, Rod may blow you the F out. Can you not see Manning being out there in the fourth quarter just throwing touchdowns? I don't even care. Who are they playing? They're playing, Miami at home? Oof, look out.
One note in this matchup, I've heard a few league members who were concerned about the well-being of Robbie Wright. His gambling addiction has been well documented. We thought that it was going to come to a halt.
A crashing, or a halt, all right.
The girlfriend is in now for the next 2.5 months, who is not big on the gambling. And
for good reason, yeah. Not dealing with him, but yeah.
So we thought that this was going to come to an end. Well, I'm sitting upstairs yesterday, and it was maybe around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I get a text from Robbie Wright.
Another one?
A picture of his chips in his hand. I think he had maybe a little over $400 in chips. And this is probably the 3rd time I've gotten this picture now since the last podcast. So he has not slowed down. If anything, he's picked it up. You can't. Every time he sends me a picture of an up text, I get worried about how big that down text is going to eventually be.
Right, and then what's always the thing is always we're going to get that text from Robbie. I'm out of money. I have no gas. Can you please pick me up? I'm at the Rivers.
Let's just say his team name is just going to be called the Manziels after that ends. There will be
the
no money involved.
Right. The money sign, the 4 money signs in his abbreviation will turn into like hyphens for negatives.
But he feels good. I think that in his head right now, he seriously thinks that this could be a career path for him playing blackjack.
No.
I'd say there's a 50% chance in his head right now. He truly, truly believes that.
Robbie, this is a request from me, and I know you watch these religiously. In your parenthesis, I would like you to, instead of having the money, I want you to put your running blackjack total in there.
Yeah,
I think that's totally fair.
And he might not know the exact total, but he's got to be pretty close.
Right, like give me within at least a $50 plus or minus where you think you may be, and then update that daily.
That would be entertaining, actually. I like that idea.
Yeah.
I think Robbie, that's something you should do.
But I'm very nervous about one of these times, and it happens to all of us. You're going through the quick text, you take the picture of your chips, and he accidentally sends it to his girlfriend, and then how the hell that's. There's things you can come back from and spin a white lie out of, like, oh, whoops, I meant to send that to Eric, haha, lol. I don't think you can laugh that one off.
Well, and here's the issue. It's not just the chips. It's the chips coming across the phone at 2 o'clock on a Thursday.
Right, yeah. So, I understand, hey, the buddies and I, we're going out to the casino to watch a game and have a drink and then, maybe throw some dice.
Night.
Yeah, we'll watch the college basketball game. This is, 2 o'clock on a Thursday. What in the hell are you doing?
And the best part, she's, at work or whatever she's doing here, clinicals or something.
Physical therapy school. So she pulls up, she gets a text, she's going to say, oh, my boyfriend loves me. Look, he's sending me a text in the middle afternoon. There's $400 worth of casino chips. She's going to have some questions, and you don't have the answers that she wants to hear, at least.
It's only a matter of time.
The answer isn't, oh, honey, I doubled down on 11. The dealer busted. We're just all awaiting, John, or he slept over on that couch once, willingly. Now he might be sleeping on this couch over here with the trophy.
For weeks at a time.
He's going to be voluntold to get out of his own house.
Yeah, so we got that going on. That's where Robbie's at right now. Final 2 matchups of the week. We have to be quick here. It's Only Smells versus
me.
Your new team name.
Mike Eruzione, I play for the USA.
I got to admit, I'm not a fan of this one. I think this might be the worst one of the year.
Yeah, well, I have the worst team of the year, so that's about right.
I disagree. I think I'm in dead last for points for.
Yeah, but I would rather still have your roster than mine. Let me read you some names here.
That's very debatable.
McKinnon,
given the information.
Crabtree, Rivera, Wright, Browns D, Crosby, not Sidney.
Yeah, it's not strong, particularly strong.
When you have I had 2 open bench slots, and the thing is, I fucking pick up Tammy. But it didn't. I wasn't unsure if it was going to work, and then Julius Thomas might sit, and then the Vernon Davis thing falls through, and I have to start Michael with a Y. Michael, Mychal. How fucking high were you, Mom, when you named him Michael with an M and no E? And he's not even a silverback, and I should have known from the jump street. You don't start tight ends that aren't silverbacks. And I'm done.
That's not true. That's not true at all. You have Jimmy Graham and Rob Gronkowski, probably the 2 best in the league that are not. Are you saying you start white ones?
Right, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you start the alien-looking ginger.
Except Julius Thomas has been a beast.
Yeah, but he's hurt.
It doesn't help. An interesting thing about your matchup this week is you're at 5-6, Smells is at 6-5.
And he benched James Jones.
Which is big because he had a touchdown. If you win this week, you guys are both at 6-6, and would you own the tiebreaker? Have you played this team this year?
Smells, I would beat Smells twice. I beat Smells the second week of the year.
So this would.
But the problem is, it's not head to head. It's points.
I think
HIV positive. I checked. Unless you switched it at the beginning of the year, it's head to head. It's points. I already done.
I think points is the right way, but I think I thought that you might want to double check that. If you're tied with one team, I think it might be head to head, and then the rest goes to points. I could be wrong.
I think you might be wrong because I actually searched it, and I'm pretty sure it said the default for a playoff tiebreaker is points unless your league manager switched it. And I don't know if you would know if you switched it or not.
No,
but,
I am a big believer that points for is probably the
that's definitely the fairest way.
probably the right
agree.
way to play the league. Like head to head's probably it's more fun, but it's not the right way to determine who has the best team.
Those aren't terrible. Oh, standing room. Never mind. I'm not standing. If it was
okay, all right, then I stand corrected on that, and I assume Smells has more points than you this year.
Well, technically, Smells only has 7 more points than less than. So we're right there. Yeah.
So hopefully you don't. If you win and you win by 6, it's really not going to matter that much.
Literally, no. It's like this is one of those where it's like those soccer things where it's like the aggregate goals. Like I actually have to win by enough points to bump up. I have to win by 6.7 points would actually put us in a virtual tie, an actual tie. 80. So like that. I mean, this is it's wild.
Well, then
it's becoming fun.
Yeah, but if you weren't in that tie, you would own the head-to-head tiebreaker.
Exactly.
It has to be the second one.
Yeah, and I beat Smells twice.
Both you guys had a player go last night. Smells had 2 points out of the Chiefs D. You had 0.8, as you've already mentioned, out of Rivera, the tight end for the Raiders. And you are projected to lose by the line's 15 right now.
Yeah.
So that's probably that might be the closest one of the week.
I'm actually a little.
It is. That's the closest line of the week. 15.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I'm actually scared because he picked up. I dropped Ryan Matthews week 3 because he tore his hamstring thought he did, and I could get bitten by my own draft pick. And I bitched about my draft all season, so
that's one of those full circle things.
And why on earth is Jeremy Maclin so good? I didn't realize until I was looking through here and clicked in.
Bananas this year.
Yeah,
that's a guy you thought it was going to be Riley Cooper.
I thought it was going to be Riley Cooper. Another miss. Swing and a strike.
Maclin's basically picked up where Deshaun Jackson left.
Yeah, that's crazy. So in his lineup, and who knows? Sorry, I'm coming for you, Smells. There could be some tweeter trash talk with Smells.
Final matchup of the week. This will take about 10 seconds. Down with the Cause 8-3 versus Tesla Motors 2-9. Down with the Cause already has 24.9 points. He had Charles go last night for 18.2, whereas Tesla Motors had a player by the name of Santos. Okay, he's a kicker. Thank God. I was a little bit worried there.
You were wondering who
was he? He was the Oakland kicker, so he got
KC
him 8.
Kicker. Oakland kicker is the big Janikowski guy.
I'm sorry, Casey. I was looking at Oak as under the matchup. ESPN here has Down with the Cause as a 38.2 point favorite.
Holy shit!
Down with the Cause. I mean, this game's already won, so he's gonna improve the 9-3 and be up for one of the top spots. We'll wrap it up here with a little bit of our predictions, what we think. So point.
Yeah, we're looking at the winners bracket here on my computer. So what I think is, and Robbie kind of put this thought in my head in the locker room after the Scoregasm's 3rd consecutive loss of the season this year, Thursday or Wednesday evening. So you don't want to play Down with the Cause. The problem is Down with the Cause has one more loss. Like he lost a game earlier in the season, so like an extra game. So Down with the Cause is also they're 8-3. Manziel 8-3. Kalange is 9-2. So Kalange every week is a must win for him because I'm pretty sure if Cologne loses, it actually bumps Manziel's to first place and not Down with the Cause. So Robbie was kind of saying that if you don't want to play Down with the Cause, obviously. So you need to be either the 1 seed or you want Down with the Cause to jump everybody. But for Down with the Cause to jump everyone, that means Cologne has to lose 2 straight weeks, which is probably not going to happen. So Robbie is kind of in a bad spot here because if he wins, he has to play Chad in that semifinal. And I think we're all in the understanding that Chad's team is
the front runner for sure.
Disgusting, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so the way that it shapes up, if the playoffs were to start today, Team Cologne number 1 overall, he gets a bye. Down with the Cause number 2 overall, he gets a bye, and it would be the first matchup would be 4 versus 5, which is Jackson's versus Smells, and then the other matchup would be 3 versus 6, and that would be Manziel's versus Edelman. Coming out of those games, if this were to start today, I would actually take the higher seeds in both games. I would take the Manziels, and I would take the Jacksons.
True.
And then you move on to Cologne versus Jackson, Down with the Cause versus Manziels. And see, for me, there's just... Actually, I think the Jacksons could be a dark horse. I think they got a lot of
They
firepower.
just have
in
to
there.
play. That's the like Marshall and Johnson, Calvin have to like they have to. They're going to be questionable every week. They actually have to play, and I think the Bears have a really light schedule the rest of the year. The Bears have really nice matchups. Yeah. And so you would you go Jacksons to the finals?
Just to change it up. It's not going to be any fun if I just take the top seed the whole way.
He's not going chalk.
This is what I think. I think Team Cologne, they get that bye. They're kind of sitting around. That maybe they're having an extra little dessert. Maybe
Too
around
much
the Thanksgiving table.
Yeah.
Maybe little little holidays. Maybe they rest a little bit too much.
Too much yams.
Jacksons are coming off a win. They got some confidence. They got some swagger going. They come in. They take down Cologne's. I think Down with the Cause is eventually just going to win it all. But
I agree with that.
My matchup today, and that's all. This is all going to change next week. But today would be Down with the Cause over the Jacksons for the National Fixed League Championship.
Down with the Cause over the Jacksons is yours. Okay, so let's see. Right now, I would take the Jacksons to win their quarterfinal game, and I would take Money Manziel's to win their quarterfinal game. Moving to the semifinals, you got me into this believing into running backs. I'm going to take, especially in the cold weather, I'm going to take the running backs over the receivers. So I'll say Cologne with Lev Bell and Lacey. And I'm going to call him Lev Bell because it pisses him off. Not that he'll ever see this, but it just makes me feel better about myself.
Okay.
I'm going to take Lev Bell and Lacey over Johnson and Marshall. So I'm going to have Team Cologne eking one out into the finals as the 1 seed. And Down with the Cause. I'm sorry, Robbie. Down with the Cause is too good. So I'm going to have Down with the Cause into the finals over the Money Manziels. And I as much as we've been pumping the tires of the money or Down with the Cause, if it came to Cologne versus Down with the Cause, I would root for Cologne. I think I would root for I'm an underdog guy. I like the underdog. I'm always picking the upsets in March Madness.
It's not entirely an underdog because you got Cologne coming in as the number 1 seed.
Yeah, but I think it's understood that
It is definitely understood.
Down with the Cause. And part of me wants to go Down with the Cause with how funny his team name after we figured out what his team name meant. What was the quote? Cornball brother. They ask him, what is a cornball brother? He's like, oh, he's dating a white girl. He's a Republican. Like, this is the most asinine. No wonder that, like, there's still, like, racism in this country when people make comments that's stupid. But, Breeze, Charles, Murray, White, Nelson, Kelsey, Hill, and that's not even Brown's not even in the line. Antonio Brown. That team is so good. I think I would have to go. I'd root for the underdog in Cologne. So I would say Cologne wins it all. And this podcast has gone way too long, but we hope you listen to it stuck in traffic. I know Rod's driving home tomorrow afternoon from Cornell. Rod, fire this up. It'll take an hour out of your drive. Everybody get home safely for Thanksgiving break.
Yeah, we were going to do a little gambling talk, but we, of course, ran this over an hour just talking about fantasy. So we'll set aside maybe another time to get into a little bit of that. Maybe we'll next podcast.
Maybe we'll come back after skating today and we'll be all wired up and we'll do a half-hour preview of the weekend's events.
I think that's maybe a little too much for the kids to listen to, but
I'm not saying they have to listen to it all straight through.
That's true. This is true. Well,
we're gonna go over and see Brent.
Yeah, we're off to Pickup Hockey.
The Lollipop Guild.
Gonna have a little fun, but best of luck, of course, to everybody here in week number 12. It's a monster week. 2 weeks to go. Kind of sad that it's coming to an end.
The sandwich is almost gone, and after last night, I snapped. So
and with the West Virginia loss, to clarify.
Yeah.
Best of luck to everybody this week. We'll catch you next time here on the National Fixed League Podcast.
See it. Go Pens.